This is the video lesson for Introduction to Thermodynamics. The learning target for this lesson is I am learning to define the three main types of heat transfer within and between systems and how they function. The success criteria for this lesson are I can define convection, I can define conduction, I can define radiation, and I can recognize how they function within and between systems. So what is thermodynamics? Thermodynamics is the branch of physics that deals with the relationship between heat, energy, and work. It deals with how energy is transferred and how it affects the temperature and state of matter in different systems. So there are three main types of temperature transformations: radiation, convection, and conduction. So what is radiation? So radiation is when heat travels through space in the form of electromagnetic waves. And I don't just mean space as in outer space, I mean any space. So anytime there's a distance between two things. So electromagnetic waves, I mean EM waves, I mean light waves. So we're going to learn a lot more about this as we go, but light waves are light, and that's any spectrum of light. So in this case, we're talking about infrared light, and infrared light is specifically heat. So infrared light is longer wavelengths than visible light, but just barely longer. So the light that we see have shorter wavelengths than infrared light, which have a little bit longer wavelength than visible light. And anytime that we can feel heat coming off of something, that's radiation, and that is in infrared. So examples of radiative heat or radiation would be heat from the sun or heat from a light bulb. So if you touch or you put your hand near a light bulb and you feel heat coming off of that, that's radiation. So what is convection? So when heat transfers through liquids and gases, that is convection. So there's a couple of really interesting examples of convection. One is boiling water. So when water starts to boil and you see those bubbles moving up through the water, that's a great example of convection. And hot air rising from a radiator is also another really good example of convection. There's also this great example of putting a heater into water with some dissolved metal in it. And you can see the convection taking place. You can see how the warm metals that are dissolved in the water, as the metals heat up, they move up, and then they get cool and they move back down again. So you can really see this convection pattern. So you see the warm metals moving up, and then you see them moving back down again. And there's also a really cool example on the sun. So in the sun, you've got hot plasma, and plasma is just it's a kind of like a soup of atoms that have had all of the electrons stripped off of it. So it's kind of like ionized particles that act like a liquid. And on the sun, you have in the inner part of the sun, it's hotter than on the outer part of the sun. And so as the sun heats up this plasma, it moves up to the top of these convection cells, and then it slowly cools down when it gets to the top, and then it moves, and then it sinks to the bottom of the convection cell, gets heated back up, and moves back up to the top again. So that's what we're seeing in this video of these convection cells on the sun. Okay, and then last type of heat transfer is conduction. So what is conduction? So conduction is when heat travels through solids. So examples of this would be heat traveling through a spoon. A metal spoon would is placed in a hot cup of coffee. So you place that cold spoon in a hot cup of coffee, and eventually the end of the spoon that's sticking out of the coffee cup gets hot. So that's conduction. So the heat is moving through the metal. Another example of conduction is when heat is moving through a wall. So you have something hot on the other side of the wall, and when you touch the wall, it gets hot. And so that is conduction. So the heat is being conducted through the wall. All right, everybody. Go out there and keep asking questions. It's how you learn new things.